You are now listening to the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Table Podcast with your host, Michael Carter, and it's just great to be here, man. I'm with Josiah, and we've got Black History Month going here at the Real Table Podcast, and I'm just so excited about the film that we're going to talk about today. Hoping to get a few more movies in for this month. I know February is usually a shorter month, so we'll try to get a couple more in, maybe a few more, we'll see. But I at least want to get one in, which is exciting. But before we get into that, we've got some first off, Josiah, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Doing real good.
Good. That's good to hear. Have you seen anything good lately?
Oh, let's see. The last movie that I watched was The Wild Robot. That was pretty good.
Okay, yeah, you liked it? Okay.
Yeah, and then before that, Tyler and I watched Inside Out 2. And that was really good.
Nice.
I hadn't seen either of those yet, so.
Okay, cool. Which one did you think was better?
I'd definitely say Inside Out 2.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. The Wild Robot, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it was overhyped, but
Sure.
I just didn't like it as much as maybe some people that I know that have seen it.
Yeah.
I thought, of course, the animation was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said it to a friend of mine that for a split second I thought that Fink was Jason Bateman because of Zootopia. And I looked on IMDb. I was like, okay, it's not Jason Bateman, but
who was it? Pedro?
Yeah, Pedro.
Yeah.
Really solid movie. Of course, like lessons for the kids, of course, but
Yeah, definitely.
I think Inside Out 2 was better.
Okay. Yeah. I think I definitely agree on that one. I would say Inside Out 2 is better. But yeah, I quite enjoyed The Wild Robot. And I can see where you thought it was overhyped. I could understand that for sure. Let's get into not the movie yet. Let's get into some trailers. Like some two big trailers released today. This is Wednesday for us. Wednesday, February 5th. But yesterday there was another trailer that also dropped on Tuesday, February 4th, and let's talk about it. Let me hear your thoughts. Fantastic Four, the first steps, our first look at Marvel's first family. This is I think this is the first movie in over a decade since Disney got the rights.
I think so.
What are your early reactions to what you saw?
I think it looks fun. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I don't know a ton about the Fantastic Four. I mean, of course, I know like the Baxter Building, sibling relationship between the Human Torch, Invisible Woman, and the relationship to Doctor Doom, and then of course you got like the Skrulls and the Galactus and Silver Surfer. So I know all of that. I just guess I didn't know like Herbie or anything like that. I didn't know anything about that, but it looks like a lot of fun. I'm still not super sold on Pedro as Mr. Fantastic. I don't know who I would have picked instead, but we'll see how he does. I mean, I don't think he's a bad actor or anything. It's just not who I would have picked.
Sure.
Special effects and everything look good. I think, unfortunately, I think Joseph Quinn's a phenomenal actor, and I think he's going to kill it as Human Torch. However, I wasn't too impressed with the clips of him like flying around because it's like I don't really feel like there's any way that you could do it differently than what's already been done with the Human Torch.
Yes, sure.
Because with Spider-Man, there's a lot of like physicality to it, like acrobatic movements. So Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire have like their different builds and they look differently. So some of the swinging and stuff that they've done is different, but with just somebody just flying around and like there's just only so much that you can do.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about like I know enough about the Fantastic Four, but I don't know enough about like Herbie and some of the
Hmm.
intricacies that is within like the comics and the storylines and stuff like that. Uh, but yeah, I'm really intrigued. I thought it was a solid teaser. I feel like Marvel usually with these teasers, these first trailers, it's usually like a 2-minute version,
Hmm.
and this time they opted to go less, which um I didn't run the data or anything like that or go back and look, but I know they usually like to do longer trailers, but this was just it was like an hour, not an hour, excuse me, a minute and 40. It was super short and it didn't show too much, which has me even more intrigued. Um just to see where the story goes, the retro vibes. I'm really digging the 60s. I don't think I was about the 60 vibes when they first announced it. I was wanting more modern, obviously, but to see them try something new with these characters and it being in that retroness, I'm really intrigued. I'm really intrigued.
Yeah,
Um
I think it'll be interesting because they've done it several times now. The whole like fish out of water element. Um,
yeah,
so I
definitely.
think the biggest one is obviously Captain America, and then they did it with Thor.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
they did it with Captain Marvel a little bit, but everybody I think expects. I can't say for sure, but everybody expects there to be some like multiversal blending where
Oh,
they're going to come to the main timeline. So having them jump from not only the '60s to
yeah.
present day, but going from one universe to a completely different one, I think it's going to be really interesting. That kind of fish out of water element. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, look at all this technology, and
Yeah.
you know, I think doing a quick Google search, like, oh, there's superheroes everywhere. Like this is crazy, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's going to be fun. I think it'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I think it will be too. I'm not sure about Pedro yet either. I
Hmm.
think he's probably out of everybody. He's probably my biggest question mark. I thought Vanessa Kirby though looks. I think she looks the best in her role. I feel like she's a solid fit. And so yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be um hopeful for with this movie, and we'll see more as the weeks or months go by. Once we get another trailer and some more looks.
Because this
Um,
is July.
yeah, like July. I want to say it's like the 15th. July, no, 25th.
July 25th.
Yeah, so it's a late July movie, and that's coming after uh Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is in May,
Okay.
and then 2 months later we'll have uh, Fantastic Four. So
Which of the three do you think between Captain America, Fantastic Four, and Thunderbolts, which do you think is going to do the best?
I'm gonna go Fantastic Four right now.
I think I agree.
I think yeah. I just even with the way that they've kind of hyped up like the whole trailer launch thing, I think that they're gonna push for them to be one of the main forefronts of the MCU, like the
Hmm.
next decade. And so I think they're really gonna push with the marketing for this one. Whereas Thunderbolts, they're gonna push for it because they want it to be successful.
Yeah.
But with Fantastic Four, I think they're gonna want people to really rally around these characters. That's what I think. So it'll be interesting. Yep. So July 25th. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. So we'll see when that comes. I would love to go back and watch the first two. I will not do the Josh Trank's Fantastic Four film on this podcast. I absolutely refuse. Have
You
you seen
hated
it?
it that bad, huh?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw
I
it.
did not like that movie.
Yeah, I think I liked the casting for the most part.
Yeah, the casting was
Um,
solid.
but I do think I feel bad for Josh Trank though, because he came out real strong with his debut Chronicle, and then everyone's like a new Fantastic Four, and it was a little different. A lot of people scratching their heads like, okay,
Right.
this could. And I think I'm pretty sure I think I remember studio interference being a thing, but
Yes.
it just
Heavy.
It was just like he just took the fall for it, and I don't think I've ever heard or seen anything from him since. It's like
he
because
made
Toby Kebbell, I think.
yeah, I think that's
I
right.
think he's a good actor too. I mean, he did the motion capture and voice work for Koba and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And,
yes. Okay.
I think he was in that Kong Skull Island movie for a minute, and he did that one Black Mirror episode. So he's very talented, but it's just the movie just did not work.
Nope. I think Miles, obviously him, Michael B. Jordan, and I think what's her name?
Kate Mara.
Yeah, I think those are the only. I think all three of them figured it out, like career wise. Jamie Bell does stuff here and there too.
Yeah,
but yeah, it seems like Trank is the only one that did not.
Mm-hmm.
He did. I think he did one. He did one movie. It was a Capone movie, but it was back in 2020. I didn't watch it, but the reviews were pretty bad about it. It has, what's his name? I'm looking right at his picture. Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember I was interested in it. I was like, oh, this could be really cool. I think Tom is a perfect fit. But then when the reviews came out, it was like the movie is a hot mess, and it's just like not good. And I was like, oh, this might be it for Josh, because in the industry, like you don't get that many chances. So like when you do miss that one time, that could really hurt you.
For real though, that's just like you said, you can't. I mean, especially after coming off super strong with Chronicle. I know that was like the biggest movie, but I think a lot of people who've seen it liked it. They're like, okay, and then obviously out of those three, Michael B. Jordan's definitely been the biggest. I think Dane DeHaan is probably the second one because I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 hurt him a bit. Yeah. But he was in Oppenheimer, so even the small role is like Oppenheimer and yeah, so it's just how it goes sometimes, man.
That is tough. Yep, that is how it goes. Okay, let's get to that other trailer, man. Jurassic World Rebirth. Universal is once again they're going back to the dinosaurs. I mean, Jurassic World Dominion did numbers. I wasn't a fan of Dominion or The Last Kingdom. I think Jurassic World, the first one, was the only one I was like, I enjoyed. The other two,
I think I agree.
Yeah, the other two I wasn't really a fan of.
So I remember the first one, and then I remember the third one, but I don't really remember the second one.
The second one was like, it felt like it was kind of a filler film in a way. They kind of went back to the island after all of that destruction. I forgot what they were looking for, but it was like, I don't know, it wasn't as good as it.
I know the first one. Obviously, that's. I mean, not Chris Pratt was like really hot at that moment, because they just, Lego movie the first year, and then at the same time Guardians of the Galaxy. Then he's doing Jurassic World, and then what's her name? Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yes,
was a big thing. And then Ty Simpkins, I think.
Yeah.
That boy. He was doing like Iron Man 3, so a little bit happened from that movie. The second one, like I said, I can't for the life of me remember anything about that second movie. And then the third one, it was fun. I think there was some really creative dinosaurs there, and what's her name? The pilot lady, she was a lot of fun.
Yes.
I
can't think of her name, but yeah.
The worst part for me was the whole subplot of that girl being a clone of like whoever or something. I was like, come on, man. Like, what's that about?
Oh.
And then, of course, doing, I think, what a lot of people have and continue to do, the whole cameo thing of the original stars, but I just don't think it worked as well.
It didn't hit.
Because it was just like what's cool, what's the reason,
Yeah.
So Scarlett Johansson's turn this time. I don't know what to say, man. Like, it's just, I'm like, why do you keep doing this? Of course, I think it's going to do numbers because it's going to be a fun movie. And
for sure.
People love seeing destruction and people getting eaten up,
Yeah.
But it's just like, how many times we got to do this?
Yeah. No, I hear that.
That's just where I'm at. It's just okay. I think maybe not. No, I'm not going to say that. But it was just all right.
Yeah, I saw a tweet where somebody was like, "It feels like we're repackaging what's been done before."
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like I think the only reason I have any optimism it'll be good is because Gareth Edwards is behind it, and I think he does a solid job. But other than that, like even after Dominion, I was like, we can leave this franchise alone for a long time, until they figure out, I guess, something cool with it. I guess I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I think I do like the way it looks, the shot, all that stuff. It looks good.
Because it's not even like there's been enough time. It's not like, okay, Planet of the Apes. All right, there was so much time between even like the Mark Wahlberg one and that, like 10 years, to kind of bring it back, reintroduce it to a new generation. It's like this one, Dominion, what came out like 2023, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
and it's like there's not even enough time in between it. Or I think Alien Covenant was 2017, and then last year they did Romulus. So
a break.
Yeah, so it's just too little bit of time in between to try to breathe life back into this franchise. And even though I love Alien Romulus, I still think that it's kind of like what you said. Like, you're just kind of repackaging.
Yeah.
And then the fact they're making a sequel to Alien Romulus, I'm like, about what? Like the same thing, So it's just, I think we're just one of those franchises where it's just like a dead end. Because I don't know why Godzilla is different. Because I think Godzilla is a different kind of franchise where you can just keep going.
Yeah.
But something like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, I think because continuity issues.
Yeah.
Because I think my biggest issue with the first Jurassic World was, realistically speaking, I highly doubt they would ever allow them. It's like, how many do you guys haven't learned your lesson, and now you're going to make an open theme park? And then this happens a couple more times, and then it's like there's still dinosaurs left over. It's like, you need to go in there, just kill them all, and then leave it at that. But no, they don't for science, and it's just like, okay, so at some point, are they going to bring Chris Pratt back into the movie or something? So I think that's just kind of where I'm at with the whole Jurassic Park, Jurassic World thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I think this is like the unfortunate rut that Hollywood is in, just taking these franchises that we know, and some of them, and trying to keep them alive, and they're probably better off just resting.
Yeah.
And it's funny, somebody asked, I can't remember if it's the producer or writer, but somebody who had to do with Back to the Future, and asked him about a fourth one. And he said, whoever asked, tell them to F off.
Yeah, dude. It's just like, you just gotta leave stuff alone, man.
Gotta leave it alone.
Just leave stuff alone,
Yeah. Oh, but that's the unfortunate part of it. Unfortunate. All right. Let's get into it. The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
We built these ships, dredged these canals in the San Francisco they never knew existed. This is our home. You two stick together.
I always come back to the old house. What if it's empty? What if we just peeked inside?
We could throw parties. You could put on one of your plays. We could yell.
Where is this house?
Our old house.
That's not your old house, and that's not your neighborhood.
Hey, if you're going to San Francisco,
if we shouldn't be here?
Well, we should be here more.
Some millionaire.
If you leave, it's not your loss. It's San Francisco.
I don't know how much longer we can keep doing this.
But I'm not leaving. I'm the last one left.
I'm with you, brother.
I seen this movie, I think back in I think it might have been 2019. Either 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
I saw it.
In theaters?
No. I think at this point, because this came out June, so it had to be 2020 because I remember watching it on Prime for free. And yeah, man, what a movie! What a movie! The first time through, I thought it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing it again, watching it yesterday, it's truly an incredible movie, and I don't think I'm just saying it. Just say I think it's actually incredible what the layers of this film are, what it does, the characters, the way it's directed, the way it's written. Like, I think it's truly, truly incredible. What did you think?
I agree. It's almost like have you seen the Florida Project?
No. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
You should watch that. It's really good. But it's like in the same way, it almost feels like a documentary. You know what I mean? Like it almost feels like we're following him around, learning about his life.
Yep.
Because just the way it's shot, and then all the clips of just people just on the street, just hanging out. You know what I mean? It's like they're just walking around San Francisco and saying, "Hey, this is the part that you don't see. You usually see what was at the Golden Gate Bridge, and all of that. But it's like if you go down to the actual city, it's like where people like are just living their lives. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I really loved it. I think looking back at my Letterboxd review, I said like the story is so simple, but it's so like deep and like complex, and there's just so much going on that you're like, man, you know. Ty and I started rewatching it yesterday. We only got like half an hour into it, and I was watching some clips on YouTube, kind of remembering, and I was like, man, this movie, like when we get off of here, we're probably going to finish it, but it's like, man, this movie is just, I've been telling a lot of people about it, about like it's Black History Month. A great movie you should watch is The Lost Black Man in San Francisco.
Yes.
A friend of mine also really likes E12 films. I'm like, it's not like The Lighthouse. It's nothing crazy like that, but it's talking about like gentrification, holding onto your home and your culture, and it's just a really great movie.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. Directed by Joe Talbot. Joe hasn't done, I don't think he's done many movies since that film, but it's directed by Joe Talbot, and stories by Jimmy Fails, who is starring in this movie. I remember when I first went to watch it, and then I looked it up. I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize this is basically his story."
Yeah,
and I just think I think it's cool that that he presented this story and then got with Joe, and then decided to be able to make this movie, and it's incredible how that
especially
like
digging into it again. You know, Joe and Jimmy were childhood friends, so they've known each other for a long time, and so it's like in a way like both of their stories, and it's like most people like it's called The Last Black Man in San Francisco. So you look at Joe, it's like, why is this guy making this movie? And like he's white or whatever. It's like, no, like he's from San Francisco. He's been friends with Jimmy this whole time. Yeah. So it's like, who better to make a movie about that than these two?
Yep. And I think that's why it ultimately works too, because I think some movies don't work that well, but like because it's his story and he's actually playing in a sense himself. Yeah. I think the collaboration between him and Joe, I mean, it's kind of evident through the film.
Because not to bring up the Oscars at all, but I heard that was one of the biggest criticisms that people like. One of the biggest reasons why a lot of people don't like Emilia Perez because it was directed by a French director on a French studio, and it was like he didn't research Mexican culture, anything like that at all. So everybody's like, you don't know what you're talking about, and it's a terrible portrayal. So when you do have a director that like lived it essentially, you know, and it's just like, I mean, that's how you do it. You know what I mean? It's just such, and I think that was the first time I saw Jonathan Majors as well.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah.
And I don't remember. It's like what is name after that? But I was like, oh yeah, that's, you know, from, because it's like I feel like it's one of those cool things. It's like where you, like there's an artist that you like a band, and it's like, oh, I was listening to them before they blew up, before they, you know, became cool. So it's like if you were to walk up to, let's say, Jonathan Majors and say, oh my gosh, The Last Black Man in San Francisco instead of Loki or Creed 2, it's like I feel like that would make like an impression on them. You know, it's like, 100%. Oh, you saw that? It's like, yes, I did. You know, so
yeah, it was nice to go back and see him in this role and go, this is why he was in the spaces that he was in and the trajectory that he was hitting. And I'm curious to see Magazine Dreams. I know we talked a little bit about that. That's his next film. I think this is part of the comeback. I think that film was supposed to come out.
It looked like 2023 on IMDb.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out then, but then when that stuff hit, they shelved it.
Was that 2023? Where that stuff hit?
Yes, because that's when Ant-Man and Wasp came out. Right?
Oh, wow! Time flies, man. Already, I was like, really?
Because that was early on in the year.
Okay,
and all that stuff hit, and it was just like, oh shoot! And they were like, we're gonna have to shelve this, because I remember people had screened it, and they were like, he's gonna make a run with this movie just because of this performance, and then it shelved it, and now they're bringing it back out, which makes me think, especially because of, I won't get into all of it, how that case came out and all that stuff. They were like, let's put it out, let's see what happened, and there's Marvel rumors and stuff like that too. But whatever. Yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's like, have you seen Red Dawn with Chris Hemsworth?
No.
That was one of his like first like earlier movies.
Really?
But they ended up releasing it, like it came out like after like Thor and stuff. So I think Chris Hemsworth is kind of popping, and then there's a smaller movie that he made that they never released. They're like, hey, he's popping now, let's drop it now, because it seemed like, you know,
wow, I did not know that.
That's how they do things, and so it's like, it's like an older film. It's like, oh, this was made like a couple years ago, but nobody's seen it, or it's just coming out now. So like you said, that's the game, man. So hopefully it does well. I do think he's just a very, very talented actor, and you know, I definitely believe that it was 2023, because as jacked as he was in that movie in Creed 2, it's like
you can see the same. It's just like he hopped from one set to the next.
Pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, he gives an incredible performance. But for people who don't know what this movie's about, and give you just to read the brief summary. So it's about Jimmy and his best friend Montgomery, and they try to reclaim the house built by Jimmy's grandfather, launching them on a poignant odyssey that connects them to their past, even as a test of friendship and a sense of belonging in the place they call home. So it's like Josiah said, it's super simple, but like the layers in the plot make it even deeper, and it makes it a really great film. I think this might be one of my favorite films ever.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it at the Blu-ray, because I saw it. I can't remember what class it was at BG. It was probably like African American Studies. So I watched in that class like Bamboozled, Do the Right Thing, Sorry to Bother You. A lot of good ones. Like Lost Black Man in San Francisco. I was like, man, it's just like, I was like, I need to buy this movie because it's that good, and
it's so good.
It's just, you know, I'm like, man, you know, and I feel like I said, if you just, you could drop it into any city, and I feel like people would relate to it, you know?
100%.
So it's like, you could forget the San Francisco aspect of it, just saying, wherever your home is, you know, just think about it, you know? Because especially rewatching clips on YouTube, and there's that scene on the where he's on the bus and those ladies are talking crap about San Francisco, and he was like,
Yeah.
you don't get to hate it. He's like, do you love it here? Do you love San Francisco? He's like, you don't get to hate it if you don't love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think every person feels that way about their hometown, you know,
Oh,
or
yeah.
their states. Like, you're talking smack about it. It's like, if you don't love it here, you don't get to do that. You know?
Right. Yeah. That's how I feel about, like for me, for like Cleveland.
Really?
Like when people are like, "Oh, Cleveland's this," and I'm like, "Nah, bro. I was born and raised in Cleveland."
Yeah. Because I'm in Lorraine right now, which is like 40 minutes outside of Cleveland.
Yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
I've been here for like 2 years now, and it's like it's really grown on me. You know,
Yeah.
it's like seeing it's really sad seeing like all these like rundown houses or closed up buildings, like a lot of empty spaces, and I'm like, man, you know. But it's like I love it here so much, and it's just like it's heartbreaking to kind of see that kind of happen. Same thing with like Toledo. It's like it's kind of changed a lot since I grew up there, and you know, it's just one of those things. It's just life.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit, like there's a lot of actually different aspects, but there's like a preacher, and he goes up every morning. He puts down a crate, and he stands on it, and he starts preaching about what they're doing and the water that's like polluted or whatever, the toxic water and stuff like that. Like, what are your thoughts on what that moment does, or what he does for this story?
I think it's close to home, you know, not me personally, but it's like there's things that a lot of times that happen in the city that people don't like, but it's outside of their control, you know, like you know, it's like, is this really like my grandmother's next door neighbor is an older gentleman, and they were building a new high school behind the current one. Like they're just kind of redoing a lot of things, and he was talking to me one time about like he didn't like it. It's like his taxpayer dollars are going towards building a new school, but at his age and season of life, he doesn't even have any kids that will be going to the school. So it's like, why am I having to pay for that? You know, or Bowling Green, you know how they tore down the old administration building like last year, the year before?
Yeah.
I remember when I saw an article about that on Facebook when it happened, somebody in the comments was mad. They're like, I helped pay for that building, you know, now they're just like tearing it down. So, you know, when it's like big companies or it just speaks to like the community when like there's and sometimes, you know, it's not always a good thing, but the whole like you're not even from around here type of thing. But it's like you're coming into my city, you're changing things, you're changing everything about it here. We don't like that.
Yep.
And yet, you know, there's nothing we can do. So it's like, come on, guys, you have a voice. You need to wake up and like speak out against this, or nothing's going to change. You know.
Yep. Yeah, I think it does. It makes me feel like that does. It's close to home to have people that are like out on the street, kind of speaking and being boisterous or being loud about things that are going on. You know, they're like, why are they wearing these yellow suits? You know, why are they out here in this water? Like, what are they hiding? What are they not telling us? It's like, I think that's like the experience in general. Like, people are like, what are the things that are going on around us that we don't know about? And why are they not telling us about certain stuff? And it was kind of cool that moment, because it felt like I was watching a play. Like, I feel like the way they framed it and the way the light hits the man, it's like, it feels like this is like a play that we're watching, and he's just like, he's got a lot to say.
And I think also with that, there's always, I don't want to use the word characters, but there's always characters like that in town. There's always someone, oh, there goes so-and-so again, doing, you know, or even if you look at Spider-Man Homecoming, he goes to that one deli that you know, that guy's there, and he's like chopping it up with them, and it's just like you get to know people, and it's like whether you agree with what they're doing or not, it's like, hey, there's so-and-so, they're there every single day, doing, you know, talking about whatever he's talking about again, you know. So it definitely, like I said, makes it feel more like I don't know, real, if that makes sense.
And I love, like, as that scene evolves, because they're waiting for the bus. Jimmy and Montgomery, they're waiting for the bus, and they're like, the bus is not going to make it in time. They're like, it's not going to make it in time. We're not going to make it in time. Obviously, we don't know what they're talking about, but he's like, we're not going to make it in time. So he's like, let's just skate. And so they get on his skateboard, and they skate through San Francisco. And that scene, man, like visually, and just watching them skate, and they're skating by, and they're looking like you said earlier, like you're looking at a different sides of San Francisco. You're looking at one area all the way into the nicer area and stuff like that. And like as they're skating, like the preacher, the guy who's on the street, he's got a lot to say about like fighting for your land and fighting for your home, and this is where we're from, this is our place, and all this other stuff, which I thought was like, I don't know, it's pretty cool. It was visually stunning, and sweet. What do you think about the score?
It's definitely like interesting. Like I said, I just started rewatching yesterday, so I don't remember a whole lot. But the one at the intro is just kind of I don't know. It's slow, but it also makes you think about the fast pacedness of like a city. It's like always moving. It's always, we're kind of in a rush. We're trying to get somewhere, but it's also like you're still taking it all in. And I think that it's a type of score that you're not going to get with like a mainstream film or like a blockbuster. So I definitely, and then of course they played, I don't remember who the original artist was, but the San Francisco song. It's like how many other cities have songs that are that popular about them, So really solid score as well.
Yeah, I think the score is just beautiful. And it's like, it's a unique one too. Like it just, I feel like it kind of sits around like the woodwind kind of instruments. Maybe little strings here and there for sure. Definitely some strings, but the way that they use, I think, the score throughout, it's just like you said about the movie itself. It's just super duper simple. And it just feels, I don't know, it feels perfect. It's kind of, I love to watch movies and you watch a score with the film, and like in your mind, you're like, I don't know how they came up with this and how that connected, but it works so well. Like, I don't know how they figured it out, like figured out the right ingredient, the right key piece to make those two, make sense. I don't know. I think that's just interesting. Yeah. What are your thoughts about the guys on the corner that stand outside of Montgomery's house?
I think it's very complex, especially going like one of the clips I saw where they're, after, what's his name passes away. I don't want to like say that person's name, but like,
yeah, for sure.
He's there, and that, they're still doing it, still, hanging out there. And it's just, like I said, that community aspect, there's always that corner, there's always that street, or like regulars in a coffee shop or like a restaurant, those people that are just always in there. That's kind of what they're known for. It's just like, I think it's one of those things where, so I mean, I grew up in Toledo, but I didn't grow up like in the inner city Toledo or downtown, so it's a little bit different. But in those cities like that, you're always known for standing on the street or standing on the block. That's just kind of like how it is. And so, I think it's interesting. It's like, most people are like, why do you just keep hanging outside my house every day? But they just don't even care. They just walk right past them and just go in, and that's it,
That scene where Montgomery walks up to them. Did you get to that scene?
Yeah, the one where he's like, "Oh, you're doing a good job. Like you're working." Like, yeah, I think I saw that clip on YouTube.
What do you think about that?
I don't know, man. It's just very, very weird. I think it's very clear that Mont is not like them, and he has that like play mind. You see him practicing on the pier and stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe he disagrees with how they present themselves. You know, it's like, you know, you don't have to be super hard all the time or like fighting. It's like, you know, keep it up. You're doing it. They're like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, you
Yeah.
got this. Like, you could be more than what you currently are. But I like how they're just like, and then he just walks away and they're like, what is he talking about? Like, you know, they don't swing at him. They don't say like, don't pull out a gun or get out of here. They're just like, what? Like, what is he talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Do you understand this? And then he just like walks away and they're like, all right, you know.
But it seemed like though he connected with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
With, by the way, what I think he said, "You're good right there. You're good right there," whatever.
Yeah.
And because they were roasting one of them, and so it's like whatever he said, it's almost like he actually saw him and saw where he was.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think the other guys didn't understand
Mm-hmm.
anything he was saying. They thought he was just whatever. Oh man, do you think he's autistic?
You know what? I was going to say that. I didn't want to say it, but you said it for me. But it kind of comes off that way because because even in the one scene where you know they find out that what's his name like passed away and died, he's kind of just standing there playing with his like, you know, flowers, like the flowers that he has. He doesn't really like interact with them, and he kind of just like is just, you know what I mean? And it's like you walked up to those guys, you're talking to them, and then now in this like very high intensity emotional situation, you're just kind of like there, kind of like tuned out, and it just kind of, and then even the way like in his performance that the way that Jonathan Majors talks, you know, kind of makes it seem a little
like
bit.
he's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the house. So like this whole story is centered around this house. You know, as we start the movie, they're waiting at the bus stop, and you're wondering why they're waiting for the bus, and then they start skateboarding, and you're wondering why they're skateboarding, and they're skateboarding to this house.
Mm-hmm.
And we come to know quickly that Jimmy is like really obsessed with this house.
Yeah.
Like he's enamored with it, and he's so obsessed that he wants to paint it. He gets on top of the house and he starts painting it, but then he's interrupted by the people that live in this big Victorian style house, and they're like, dude, what are you doing? Why do you keep coming back? And then you quickly learn, you're like, okay, this is not the first time he's been here. This is something he consistently does. And then eventually they get scared off when they get ran away. The house, in general, Jimmy is so obsessed with this house. And then when you come to find out why he's obsessed with his house, and that is his grandfather's house. What kind of theme, like for you, like as you're watching it, and even as like you remember, like what theme or what is the symbolism with this house that Jimmy's obsessed with? For him, obviously, it feels like it's memories. It's you know, it's a place
sentimental value.
That he grew up in. What do you think overall beyond just for Jimmy? What do you think that has to do with like
question
with life? You know,
maybe it's like representing like fear. You know, fear of change, fear of loss. You know, not wanting to like leave your home. I mean, that's like like kind of not necessarily. There could be many reasons why people are like this, but like if you think of like townies, like nobody's ever like left their hometown. And it's like, you know, and it's just like they don't want to leave. They're comfortable. Maybe they don't really know what's out there, or you know, they're just so in love with it where they're at. They just don't want to let it go. You know, I mean, it could be. I think the emotions Jimmy has. Have you ever seen Fighting with My Family? That Florence Pugh like WWE movie?
Yes.
And it was the one where like that part where her brother keeps sending in audition tapes, and he like likes it. And Vince Vaughn's like, yeah, we're really impressed, but we're still not going to do it. He's like, no, like I've made promises. I got this kid coming. Like this is all I have. And he's just like, well, he's like, you got to let it go, son. He's like, let it go. He's like, I can't. This is all I have. He's like, well, you're just going to have to find something else.
Wow.
And that's it. You're just going to have to find something else. And he was just fighting for it over and over and over. And it's just like with Jimmy, they're like, get out of here. Why do you keep coming to this house? Like, I don't care what you think you're doing, what your reasoning is. You need to leave. And he's like, I'm almost done. Like, I'll finish it next time. And they're like, no, there's not going to be a next time. And it's kind of that same emotions. Like, that's all you have. That's all you're holding on to. And it's like, if I don't have this one thing, then I don't know what I'm going to do, you know?
And that speaks even further to, like, when you keep watching, for people that haven't watched, like, you start wondering, okay, where's his father? Where's his mother? Like, you're still wondering, where are the other people around him?
Yeah.
And then, that kind of sews that all together pretty well, that this is, like, he's really, like, for dear life, he's like, this is all that I have. And again, he quickly learns, like, there's just nothing he really can ultimately do. What do you think that ending, if you remember it, do you remember the ending?
Yeah, where he leaves.
Yeah, what do you think that does? Like, he leaves Mott a note, right? And it's just like, this is it. And Mott reads it, and he's like, he's upset, obviously. And then you're like, where's Jimmy? And Jimmy's off in a boat.
Yeah.
Rowing away.
It's just, I think, you know, if you think of like the 5 stages of grief, what people typically say, it's just acceptance. Things have changed. They're not going to go back to the way they were. He learns the truth about the house. And he's just like, all right, you know what? It's just time for me to let this go. Life moves on. And I'm finally just leaving this all behind, you know? You know, maybe the truth was like, man, like, because then, you know, maybe it's just kind of like, I don't want to say embarrassing, but you're kind of like embarrassed for him, or he's embarrassed for himself. Like, he's in the window. Those guys are like, hey, this house was blah. He's like, no, that's not true. My grandfather built this house. And he's like, actually, if you look at the style of it, that's just not true. And Jimmy's like, no, it is true. And then, you know, if I remember correctly, Mott kind of uses the play as like an intervention for Jimmy.
Yes,
like,
dude.
Jimmy, like, come on, Jimmy. And then he gets up and walks out, and he's like, bro, like, I'm just trying to help it. But he's like, I know, but I don't want to believe it. Like, you know, and then you did that in front of everybody, you know, around us. And like I said, it's just, he just accepts that, you know, this is the state of things. Like, he's not going to be able to afford to live the house. He's just got to let it go and, you know, find his way outside of San Francisco, you know?
Yeah. That's crazy. Yep. It's, you just, I think I forgot how it ended, but just to watch it and go, dang, like, he just ups and leaves and like, I gotta go. I gotta leave this all behind. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
For Black History Month in general, why do you think this film is important? You know, I think, like, the gentrification, that piece of the story about, you know, things changing, and like, you have to think, at one point when his grandfather was living there, part of me wants to think a lot of that neighborhood had a lot more Black people, and just because times, again, he lost a house, and like, what do you think that, like, how do you think, you know, this film and what it says, not even just about gentrification, but what do you think it says, you know, just about Black people, Black stories?
I think, you know, historically speaking, with the struggles, they've learned to, you know, band together and, like you said, really build that community. I know at the high school that I do college advising at, one of the teachers, he's Puerto Rican, but he has like a hip hop history class. So it's like, so much of culture has come from, you know, the Black community, and you know, when it comes to like music and cooking and food and styles. And then, so with just the reality of things, and like we don't have time to get into all that, but the pay wage gap and all of that. And it's just like, you know, like he said, we built these cities, we built this, we did all this, and then it's like we're getting pushed out. We can't afford to stay, and it's like, it's like the questions of like, what is a community? What makes a community? It's like the people, but it's like, when people start coming in, I know like one of the main roads here in like Lorraine and the Amherst area, they built like a lot of restaurants. So it's like the Chick-fil-A is there now. There's all kinds of like, there's like a Little Caesars, a smoothie place, and it's become so commercialized that it kind of is like, it's not even it doesn't even feel like a community anymore, because it's just so, things just start popping up here and there, and it's just like, and then it's like people say concrete jungles. It's like, where's the trees? Where's the nature? It's like, it didn't used to be this way. Now it's so, commercialized, and it just, I think, Black History Month, it does speak to a lot of people, because I think at BG, it was a communications class, and there was a quote that said like, people with status and power aren't able to see reality as clearly as those without it. And I think a couple of people asked, like, raised their hand, kind of try to interpret it, and the recitation is like, yes, that's true, but not quite it. And when I raised my hand, my answer, she's like, absolutely nailed it, because it's like the people with status of power represent such a small portion of the general population that it's like you always see in movies, it's like, okay, you live here at the top of the hill, but everybody, like, most people live down here in the streets. Yes. And so it's like, you don't, like, this is what life is like.
Yeah.
I know when I was working at Walmart, BG, there was a couple times we had disagreements with some of the managers, and sometimes I was like, do they even really know what we do in this department every single day? Because it's like, did you start here where we're at and work your way up? Or did you just come in as a manager? Because it's like, the fact that you're saying this, but it's like what we do every day that just doesn't actually work the way that you think it should or you want it to. It's like, it just doesn't seem like you can relate to us at all, or what you're talking about, So I think it just has to do a lot with that. It's like, this is real life, and this is what real people, like, this is our home, this is our community, this is what we deal with. So all this gentrification, yes, okay, there's no more rundown buildings, but where are the people? You know what I mean? Whereas if you, like, a mural and you just paint over it and it's just like a blank wall, and it's like, dude, there was so much art and talent, creativity in that, and you just stripped it all away,
Wow. Yeah. And this is like, to piggyback off of that, like, this is not everybody's story, but this is a piece of what I think, a Black culture and Black stories. Like, this might not be everybody's story, but it is somebody's story that is special to them. And I think that's what makes this movie just super special, because of the layers and, the relationships that he's had with who he has them with, and why he's so obsessed with this house, and, how he feels about it at the end of the day. And man, such a good movie, though. It's such a good movie. I actually have
to get going here in a few minutes, but
okay.
Yeah, like you said, especially with Joe, like I said, yes, the last Black man in San Francisco, and that's a huge part of it. But it's like, even if you think of a movie like 8 Mile, it's like based off of Eminem's life. It's like, life is hard for a lot of people,
right.
And it's like, this is where I came from. This is what it's like for the people in this community. So, it's like we band together. This is just out. This is who we are. This is like our history, and it's like these stories that. I mean, these things, like we said, gentrification impacts so many people in so many different areas. And it's just like, if one person's story, then it's all of our story. It's like if you just hear one person's story, then you could have a lot of empathy and respect for so many other people, because they can relate to that, So, it's just such a wonderful movie. And I'm just so glad, like, if it wasn't for that class, I might have never seen this amazing piece of art.
Dang,
so
that's crazy.
It's good.
That's a good movie. Well, Joe, thanks for hopping on the podcast today and talking about The Last Black Man in San Francisco. If you haven't seen it, go rent it or go buy it. It's a great movie. Other than that, share this podcast with somebody if you know who's never seen the movie before and wants to learn a little bit more about it. And like and subscribe, and look out for more content next week. Thank you all for tuning in to the Real Table Podcast. I will see y'all real soon. Peace. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me today on the Real Table Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and even comment. I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Real Table Pod and on Twitter at The Real Table. And don't forget to also check me out on therealtable.com for news, articles, and reviews. I will see y'all soon. Peace.